Welcome back to the Well House Exorcism. This is your ghost host, the most, Shanna.
It's Pakwa PJ.
You're the co-ghost.
Are we sticking with that? Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's a thing now.
Okay.
It was on another...
Ghost or Gahost?
No.
I kind of like Gahost, if I'm gonna...
It just seems like you don't know how to spell it, so you're pronouncing it. We had this conversation before. If you want to be the Gahost, I guess you can.
Gahost with the most.
No, without the most.
The most Gahost?
The Gahost without the most. Anyway, how are you?
I'm good. Now I'm thinking of like...
Rhymes?
Yeah, like would the Gahost eat hostess?
We're here tonight. I think that we should take a break, to quote Alex.
You take a break.
You take a break, Daddy, from all of our Native American sadness. And we should delve into something else that's sad but also creepy.
Okay.
Okay? Before I go into tonight's episode, I would like to give props to Penny, our listener. She sent in a little response to the conversation from Jackie. She thinks that the Jersey Devil cousin out there, it could most likely be a condor, a California condor, because those things are monstrously huge.
Yeah,
so
it's fitting.
The California condor started going extinct, as you know, and now they are, growing them in labs. No, they are raising them, and then they are letting
They're 3D printing condors.
It's amazing the things you can do today. But she said maybe that's why the sightings died off, is because the condor was dying off. So I was like,
they didn't have 3D printers back
then. They
then.
did not. Obviously, it was 100 years ago.
I mean, that's possible, but
you want a dinosaur?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Penny, you're wrong.
But yeah, your reasoning is moot.
Because the ghost decided.
But it's the same thing with the lizard man, though. Like, I'm pretty sure I would know when I saw a really big bird versus, like, some freakish monster thing, like...
It's true.
This, lizard man, they're like, it was just a monitor, like a really big monitor lizard. Like, no, that looks nothing like the creature from the Black Lagoon, it's...
Yeah.
So, there's no confusing the two. And while this one is a much easier connection between a condor and, the creature they were describing, I still feel like it's a leap. I
understand. You want a dinosaur, it's okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't mind if you can have the dinosaur out there if you admit that the Jersey Devil is not real.
A little column A, a little column B, I'm just gonna...
It's gonna say no?
Yeah, no.
Oh, boy.
Well, I'm not saying no. I'm saying yes to both.
That's not how any of this works. Or is it?
Yeah, that's it. There you go.
Did you do any research on anything like from Jackie? I didn't have time.
No, didn't have,
sorry,
didn't
Jackie.
Have any time.
It has been a week. I have to do more edits to my dissertation, and I want to cry. So.
I just spoke with my favorite game designer again, and I was going to read his design blogs in preparation for that conversation, and didn't.
Yeah, we interviewed Jackie the day before. Oh, no, it was the week prior. Because this week, we had the interview with Jamie Stegmeyer, and I also had my dissertation Zoom, which went very well, but I've been typing up notes all day.
Yeah.
So I hate life right now. I cannot wait for this to be over. I'm very happy, but I'm tired. I just want to research spooky stuff. Like, can I just I should have made a PhD on spooky stuff. Is cryptozoology like an actual thing now? Because I could get a PhD in it.
Yeah, not yet.
Fine.
That would be really fun, though.
Well, it's because there's a lack of formal evidence because if we could prove that cryptids were real, then they would be cryptids.
Well, same with, I hate this term, but ufologists.
Yeah.
Like, they were made fun of and mocked for 50 plus years, and now UFOs are real, but they're still made fun of and everything, because it's
You ain't Travis.
Like, what can you really say? Like, oh, I'm going to go out in this field. Some radiation here. That's it. Like,
Ta-da!
What else are you gonna say?
So tonight's episode So we don't
not about UFOs.
We don't want to offend anybody. It's the bones of Mad Anthony Wayne.
And already we offended some people.
No. And we're also going to discuss the General Wayne Inn. So I have a dad joke for you. Let's dig in with two N's. I'm thinking about making the episode called The Bones of Mad Anthony Wayne - Let's Dig In with two N's. But someone might go, you're an English teacher. Don't you know how to spell the word in? Or would they get it? I don't know.
I think they'd get it.
I think they're used to me being a weirdo now. So
yeah.
Be a weirdo with me, people. It's fun.
We just want to hear from you. We have like 3 fans that email us.
4.
4 fans that 4?
Yes. And technically, if you break down the full send rejects, we have 3 people there. So 7.
We have a lot of listeners, just no one talks to us.
I think it's
Game
because
Soberboard's the same way. No one talks to us.
It's a one-sided conversation. Maybe they don't think that we actually will respond. We will, people. Even if we're busy. So anyway.
Yes.
Do you know who Mad Anthony Wayne was?
I researched it like 8 months ago. When we were originally going to do it, but...
The Paoli Massacre, yeah. And then we didn't.
Yeah. Well, because initially we were like, there's not enough here for an episode.
Unless you look deeper.
Exactly.
So the Paoli Massacre, there isn't a lot to it. But there's a lot to
it's
Anthony Wayne.
It's like 5 paragraphs or something, or not even that.
It's kind of important, too.
I know.
It's a footnote. Oh, alas. So Mad Anthony Wayne was actually a part of the American Revolution and the Revolutionary War. He and General George Washington were besties. And he lived a lot of his life in Pennsylvania and was a part of our Pennsylvania legislature.
Okay.
He's one of our boos. Get it? Boos.
Boos. Because he's a ghost.
Yes. I'm glad you got it. Okay.
Maybe he was a raging alcoholic too. I don't know.
Well, anyway. So when the Revolutionary War broke out, actually, he was 31 years old. And most of his life he had spent, he was a land surveyor.
Oh.
Because obviously we're still taking over Pennsylvania and Ohio and all that fun stuff. He actually had a family farm that he worked on. So, there he is, milking them cows.
I wonder how you, land survey back in those days. Like, people can't even do it nowadays.
From this tree to that
They told
rock.
our neighbor that he owned half of our driveway. It's like, do you have a degree or a certification in this? Like, at all?
Because you're wrong. Anywho. But he also established a tannery in Chester County. So he is a Pennsylvania through and through. Okay? Now, that being said, he had a lot of influence, and that's why he was able to raise a regiment of Pennsylvania volunteers for the Revolutionary War, because as you know, it was militia back then. We didn't have, armed forces.
Yeah.
He was their colonel. He was wounded in the Battle of Three Rivers in Canada, and then by February of 1777, he was already a brigadier general. So while his nom de guerre may be called Mad Anthony, he was not crazy. He was amazing. But you're probably wondering why he got the name Mad Anthony.
I mean, yeah.
Well, you will find out.
What?
But anyway.
Not right now.
I want to hold it off just a little bit.
Dang it.
You're welcome. So he did lead troops in the Battle of Brandywine and Malvern and Germantown. And he also spent the winter at the encampment at Valley Forge.
Hey, okay.
Yeah, so he's a real one. In 78, he fought at Monmouth, New Jersey. And there, he actually received his nickname. So we flash forward a whole year now. And now he's going to get his nom de guerre.
I just picture, he goes to Monmouth University, gets some education. They're like, you're crazy.
There isn't a degree
you cannot attend here anymore.
Cryptozoology is not a real thing.
The Jersey Devil is totally real. We are in New Jersey right now.
How dare you make the word
You need to leave.
cryptozoology? Oh my gosh. So anyway, how did he get his name? It was actually at Stony Point on the Hudson River. Okay, so here's a story I'm taking all of this from Haunted Pennsylvania, Ghosts and Strange Phenomena of the Keystone State by Mark Nesbitt, our baby, and Patty A. Wilson. So it says here, seemingly unassailable, Stony Point was a British fort on a 150-foot high bluff surrounded by 3 sides of water and on the 4th side a tidal swamp. Cannon studded the walls and some 600 redcoats stood at the parapets to ward off any attack.
Dang.
Oh, yeah.
So, It's a fortified area there.
Watch out. They're going to get you. When told of this by General Washington, Wayne, with supreme confidence in himself, his men, and his commander, replied, "General, if you will only plan it, I will storm hell."
We can take them.
Yeah, pretty much. Overhearing the conversation, a soldier exclaimed, "The man is mad." So there you go.
Yeah, what's 600?
We can do this.
We're plucky.
Oh, boy. So, obviously...
We got spunk.
If that soldier did participate in the attack, obviously, he would have realized that his statement was 100% true about Anthony, because it says, to ensure that they surprise the enemy, Wayne ordered his men not to load their weapons, but to rely on their bayonets.
Of course.
I know.
Gotta teach those walls who's boss with those little knives. Well, they weren't little, but, you know.
During the assault, Wayne was wounded, struck in the forehead by a spent musket ball. Stunned and bleeding, he rose and pressed on, leading his men...
If only there's a way we could attack at range.
Leading his men in the hand-to-hand fighting that ensued. The attack was a success. I know. This guy was just amazing. Because he went to, command troops during Cornwallis at Yorktown. I mean, he's in Virginia, he was in South Carolina, he was in Georgia. You know, he did everything. In 1793, then, his former commander, George Washington, kind of cool guy, appointed him as commander-in-chief of the U.S. Army, and he was sent to fight the Indians in Ohio. Oh, yeah. So, again, he already has the nom de guerre, Mad Anthony, because his craziness worked.
Guys, hear me out. We're just gonna just use hatchets, okay? Yes, Jeremy, we do have superior firepower to them. We're gonna use the hatchets. Forget their arrows and their bows. Actually, we got the hatchets.
Fun fact, it's crazier than that.
Oh, no.
But wait, it gets worse. No, actually it gets better. So we're not the Fulton rejects here. It gets weirder? It gets madder. We're all a little mad here. All right. So I do want to do some reading out of this book, because he does fight the British, and then the Indians come later. Because, as you know, the Revolutionary War and the Native American stuff, all these different countries and people are fighting. So, the British, in violation of the treaty that had ended the Revolution, had never entirely abandoned the Northwest Territory of the Ohio River, so the Indians felt confident in attacking settlers flooding the area. In preparation for the upcoming action, Wayne drilled his men diligently. One of the Indian leaders told his warriors, "The Americans are now led by a chief who never sleeps." During the summer of 1794, Mad Anthony Wayne began his advance on the Indians. In mid-August 1794, his men gazed at an area of land swept by a tornado a few years before. The Indians had used the fallen timber as defensive works in front of the British Fort Miami, and the desolated area gave the name to the battle that would break the Indian hold on the Northwest Territory, the Battle of Fallen Timbers. Have you ever heard about that one?
No.
No? Oh, it's a good one. But you've heard of Fort Miami, of course, because the Miami tribe was out there. So we had mentioned them in passing because of our Lizard Man and totally awesome episode. Yeah. So again, the Algonquin warriors are already saying, this guy doesn't sleep. And now he's coming at them. So what else does he have up his sleeves? Well, let's see. Wayne had studied the Algonquin warriors.
I'm seeing elephants in the trees.
No. He knew that it was their custom not to eat on the morning of a battle. So, Mad Anthony sent the Indians word that he was about to attack, then delayed for 3 days. By August 20th, the warriors were weak from lack of food and had taken up a battle line instead of fighting as individuals in one-on-one combat, as was their usual tactic.
See, that's pretty good. I thought he was going to, cook a million stews and surround them with just let the smell just swarm the camp. But
crazy. I just need the stew. The Algonquin line broke before Wayne's well-trained machine-like infantry. The Indians rushed back to the British allies in Fort Miami, but the British refused to allow them shelter. For this, they lost the ability to rely on the Indians for aid in claiming more of the American West.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, we got you in. It's amazing.
Who would have thought?
Oh, boy. But anyway, so obviously there's a treaty that is created, so Wayne's allowed to return home. So he heads up to Erie in 1796, so it's just 2 years later. So he is enjoying his retirement. However, all those years took a hard toll on his body. Not on his mentality, of course. He's already crazy.
That's already gone.
It's already gone. But he does die up there. Now it says here, yet as famous as he was in American history, one would be at a loss to describe exactly where he is buried. And so this is the story
And
that...
now we come to it.
And now we come to the Mad Bones. So in 1809, so we're talking over 10 years after he has passed away, his family decides they would like to have him reburied closer towards his roots in Philadelphia. If you're not used to Pennsylvania, that is literally the opposite side and diagonal.
Yeah.
It's the other corner.
Yeah. Erie is northwest, Philly is southeast.
Literally.
Like, it's as far apart as you can get in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, if you're going to look at this as like a rectangle, which Pennsylvania basically is, it is the hypotenuse between it all. So kind of important thinking about this entire thing. This is the route his son takes. So Colonel Isaac Wayne goes up to Fort Prescott Isle to fetch the body of General Wayne. Assuming that after 13 years buried, his father would be decomposed.
Yeah.
Okay. He only took a saddle valise to carry his father's remains.
Oh my. I forgot about this.
Yeah. He underestimated his father's, quote, staying power. So he goes up to Erie. He has this saddle valise, and he exhumes the body of Anthony Wayne, and his body is virtually intact. Yum. But what does one do? You only have a saddlebag and a body that is there. So I just want to quote the text then, because this is just like, you can't make this up. In what must have seemed like a scene out of a Shakespearean play, Isaac procured a large cauldron, stoked a fire high beneath it, and began to boil the flesh from his father's bones. How long the boiling went on is unrecorded. Thank goodness. But the hideous cooking, the bubbling of the water, bringing to the surface first a hand, then a foot, then the head and the face of his own flesh and blood, must have given Isaac nightmares for decades.
Better get a good inheritance out of this. Just saying.
He was dead for 13 years at this point.
Well, from whatever other family members are alive.
That's true. Finally, the malodorous deed was done. The flesh and clothing were reinterred in Erie at First Street and Ash Street. So, whatever they boiled off was reinterred.
The soup.
Yeah, pretty much. And Isaac, ew. I think you broke me. And Isaac packed the bones in the valise for his journey across the state. But the valise, it seems, was not packed correctly or secured tightly enough. After several days of riding through the valleys and over the mountains of Pennsylvania, Isaac checked the valise. To his horror, half of his father's bones were gone, strewn along the trail he had ridden through Pennsylvania.
Where'd you go, Papa?
Yeah. Like, literally, Mad Anthony Wayne's bones are from Erie diagonally all the way down across Pennsylvania.
He sees a dog running around with a femur. Like, get back here!
Oh, no.
Give me back my dad!
So, there have been sightings all across Pennsylvania of General Anthony Wayne. And so the idea here must be like that theory of, unconsecrated ground or, someone not happy with
not being laid to rest.
Exactly. Or having been laid to rest and then not boiled in a soup. I don't know. So anyway, that entire trail where he took, people have seen, you actually can like draw a line pretty much of people who have seen his ghost along this trail. So, to quote the text, a mysterious horseman reportedly has been seen clad in the military uniform of a bygone era. Some, especially in Elk County, think they have identified the rider. He is that of the great American Revolutionary War, Mad Anthony Wayne, riding, stopping, searching along the roadside for parts and pieces of his mortal remains. So,
dang it, I thought I had an arm when I was alive.
No, this is so crazy. So, obviously that's important as we discussed the General Wayne Inn, named after him. It wasn't initially called that, but you have to understand the background.
I just pictured, like, the stories of people pulling over to pick up a woman in the back of the car, and then, like, they like, pull over and, like, can we help you, sir? Yeah, you see a leg? Just a leg lying around?
I need my left toe. I just need my left toe.
It's somewhere. I swear I had it. I know I had one. It's gotta be around here.
Or it's like, it's the recording, it's not an intelligent hunt. So he's just there going, all right, I want you to get in battle formation, attach bayonets. Like, no, sir, I would rather go to Target.
I hadn't slept in 3 days.
Oh, we got them Algonquins, didn't we? Key. Oh, boy. I mentioned we weren't related to discuss the Native Americans, but here we are discussing Algonquins. All right, so time to get serious, PJ.
Super serious.
Super serious. We're going to discuss the many spirits of the General Wayne Inn.
Okay.
Do you know where the General Wayne Inn is? Let me give you a hint.
It's the Ohio border, right?
It is not in Erie.
Okay.
So where else do you think it is?
Somewhere in Pennsylvania.
If it's not in Erie, though, in this story, it has to be where?
Philly.
There you go. You did it. I'm so proud. It's right outside Philly.
Deductive reasoning.
Yes. Because, again, where he originally was from, all the way up to, well, I should say back and forth. Most of his roots were in Philadelphia, but he lived all over thanks to his family farm and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it is in the village of Marioneth. You probably heard of like Marion. No. Upper. No. Okay, moving on. I have, so it's fine.
Okay.
I got
one
you.
of us knows.
It's fine.
Someone knows our
That's
state.
why I'm the ghost of the host the most, and you're just the host without the most. See? It's working.
See, now I'm starting to think co-ghost. I just don't know.
I think you should stick with the co-ghost, or else I'll keep making fun of you.
But then that's not going to sound right either. I'm going to go back to co-host.
The co-host? I can't do it. It's too much.
Co-host.
I can't do it.
Ooh, I like that. Co-host.
My mouth can't take that. That's a lot of guttural sounds. Co-host. See, it just sounds weird to me. Anyway, moving on. So why is this inn important?
Because it's haunted.
Yes, but during the colonial period especially, so the Revolutionary War, it was conveniently placed for travelers who were heading westward when we were expanding Pennsylvania.
As inns usually are.
Yes. So this inn was built in 1704.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. And it was an inn and a tavern, but it was called the Wayside Inn.
All right.
Because it's Wayside, obviously.
Yeah.
A guy named Robert Jones purchased it, and he actually had bought it from Edward Rees, who had bought it from William Penn, but never used it. The land, I should say. Okay. So William Penn's land, then it was Rees' land, then it was Jones' land, and Joan turned it into the Wayside Inn.
It's better than Jonestown.
Yeah, what can you imagine? Jones' Side Inn could have worked. Jones' Side. Anywho.
I mean, Roadside Inn would have worked too. It's just like...
Well, but it wasn't like a road back then, you know what I'm saying? It was
Trailside.
It was on the way.
The Trailway Inn.
Anywho, so it was very popular. When Jones passed away, the property was sold to another person. He offered more stuff, and so it stays relevant for a very long time. Now, I want to move on to May of 1776.
Okay.
Because obviously, 1776 is kind of an important year.
A little bit.
Yeah. Do you know your American history?
Yep.
Do you know why it was important?
Declaration.
No, because it was rebought. This inn was rebought. No, yeah, obviously. That's why it was important. But in May of 1776, the inn actually was bought again by Abraham Streeper and his wife. So they buy it. They name it the Streepers Inn. It becomes the inn. They run it as a tavern and inn. And unfortunately, though, a call was put out for men to join the colonial army. Who would have thought?
Wonder why.
Yes, Streeper enlists in that, and so his wife then struggles to run the business by herself. His wife, she's got a life. I'll tell you what, like she does some stuff in this book. I'm very proud of her.
The Life of a Wife.
A story by Mrs. Streeper. So, to quote the text, it says, soon after her husband left, General Mad Anthony Wayne and the remainder of his men descended upon the inn, fresh from a terrible defeat at Brandywine. So, yes. He stayed there the first night while his men encamped out in the fields around the building. I love how the generals always go to the nice places and they make their men like sleep in fields.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's just trash. But anyway, I understand. But anyway, the next day, the Marquis de Lafayette and George Washington rode in to speak with Wayne and spent the night there as well, to quote the text. So this inn saw some people. Mm-hmm. It saw some things. But anyway, the military does leave after that, but then we have like coaches coming in. You have the Continental Congress coming in because they're escaping Philadelphia on their way out. They're all fleeing. And then you also, for a while, have traders showing up and the British coming. The British are coming. The British are coming. So Mrs. Streeper, to go back to her, she obviously had colonial sympathies because her husband's in the colonial army. So she decides that she's going to become an American spy. Because an inn is a great place to become a spy, right?
Yeah, you get to hear everything.
Yeah, and this inn is frequented by everybody, as I just pointed out, from traders to colonials to you name it, they're there.
Yeah.
Even the Hessian mercenaries are going there to drink freely because they're German and there's booze.
Yep.
So it says here, the German mercenaries drank freely and sometimes talked too much. So she's an easy spy at this point. What an easy job. But chief among the spies was Captain Alan McLean, who gathered information as Mrs. Streeper supplied the enemy with liquor. So she plied him, and he took the information down.
Excellent.
Yep, not really dumb about that. So anyway, later though, they lose the Patriots who were staying there because the British came and got pretty heavy.
Mm-hmm.
But when they were forced out, there was a rumor that was being spread that the Patriots had dug a tunnel into the basement of the building for spy networking. So, as the story goes, according to the text, after a successful battle, a Hessian soldier was sent to the basement to fetch a cask of liquor. He never returned, and his body was not discovered. According to legend, the Patriots were hiding in the tunnel and feared exposure. So, they killed the young Hessian and buried his body in the tunnel. Perhaps this is how the very first ghost in the building was created. So now we're going to flash forward to 1848. Because this place is mad haunted. And not just because General Mad Anthony Wayne is there. You're welcome. So anyway, the old legend of this Hessian soldier would be remembered 50 years later because for a while after the inn was the inn, it became a local polling site for Lower Merion Township. And so at that point, it had been renamed the General Wayne Inn.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a while. According to the official report filed by the supervisor of the polling site, a female polling agent went to the basement to fetch a new box of ballots. There she encountered a young soldier wearing a green coat, who seemed startled or frightened before he faded away. The poll worker felt that the young man was scared and trying to hide. Hessian soldiers wore green jackets trimmed with yellow. It could have been him. And he is seen over and over and over again in the basement. So, so many have been reported actually that just in terms of modern employees, a whole bunch say they've seen this young man in green. So it just seems like he seems frightened and then he seems unsure and then he quickly fades away.
Oh.
It's the very common retelling of this guy. And the story has never gone away.
Wow.
There is another possible explanation for this soldier. Mrs. Streeper pretended to be a British sympathizer and allowed the Hessians to bring their wounded to the inn and house them there. Fun fact.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, what a great way to slip some poison. No. Anyway. It is believed that a sick Hessian was housed in the basement at one time. He supposedly died down there of his injuries while being tended by Mrs. Streeper. Some people believe that maybe she murdered the young man, and that's why he haunts the building. I mean, I keep them long enough to get information, and then if they accidentally died of their injuries, oopsie daisy.
Yeah, oh no.
Some of them had to survive so she could look like a sympathizer. But I could see her killing somebody. I'm just saying. But anyway, as we move on from there, okay, other ghosts of the Revolutionary War soldiers have also been seen in the 1990s. So we're skipping another 150 years here.
Mm-hmm.
A hostess said, so again, hostess of the Inn and Tavern, she had a crazy encounter. She was setting one of the dining areas up for dinner when she heard someone calling her name. I would not like that.
No.
Because it knows my name. The person was insistent, so she paused to turn around, much annoyed at the intrusion. She was startled to see a man in a uniform that may have been a general standing on the steps near her. He seemed surprised that she heard and saw him, and then he quickly faded away. Like, yo, Pucko PJ, yo.
What?
Oh, you saw me, yeah. Because after that, he just disappears. But she said he seemed very solid, and you couldn't really see through him. He looked very real.
Yeah. Well, that's how... for those who follow our Facebook page, I posted a video from Jason Pargan, how, like, ghosts aren't supposed to be see-through. That's a common myth. Like, a modern myth.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to the invention of projectors.
Yeah.
And because, in the early 1900s, late 1800s, people would, like, make some mist or fog or whatever and throw projection of a person and make fake ghosts, and
A ghost, maybe?
If you've ever seen the movie The Illusionist with Edward Norton, it's that. And that's where the misconception or the belief of like transparent ghosts originates.
I would not like to have a ghost that knows my name calling for me.
Yeah.
Also in the 1990s, the maitre d' claimed to have been given quite a fright by a Hessian soldier. So some stories, of course, say that he was in the basement. Again, going back to that because I'm reading through the book really fast. But according to the maitre d', he was walking by a cupboard in the kitchen one evening when he saw the head of a man materialize on a shelf.
Hey, buddy.
Why is this important? Some stories say that a Hessian soldier was ambushed in the building and killed by patriots who cut off his head and then disposed of the dead body. So seeing a head materialize, oh my. Yes, the man had a black mustache and was looking at him. The maitre d' walked on past the head and out of the kitchen when suddenly he stopped and began to shout, "I saw a head! I saw a head!" It was as if it took a second for him to register the grisly sight. Later, the maitre d' insisted that the figure's black hair and mustache looked like those of Hessian soldiers from the Revolutionary period that he had seen in paintings. So no thank you, I do not want to see
it's
a
like
head.
the scene in It,
Right?
where Stan's head is in the fridge.
So here's a sad romantic story.
Oh, okay.
I put a star by this one because it's so sad and sweet.
Like a Poe story? Like that kind of sad romantic, or...
No, because that's gothic and creepy. Anyway, so here is a sad romantic story for you.
Right.
A young British officer was brought back to the General Wayne Inn after he was wounded in battle. Despite the best efforts of the physician, please, the physicians this time, they're quack, the man died. Surprise!
What?
During his last hours, he constantly clutched a little gold locket. After his death, the locket was removed from his hand and opened up. Inside was a fine miniature painting of a young woman who was presumed to be his fiancée. The locket was taken away and the young soldier was buried. Over the years, several people have reported that a young British officer has appeared to them and demanded that they return his locket.
Whoever has that locket
better be enjoying
I
it.
hope they're happy.
When the astonished person does not respond to his plea, he simply vanishes. I don't want to be yelled at for having this person's lock. I just feel bad then. Can I just make one? And like
You wake up and he's like in front of your face. Got my locket.
I know you have it. Oh my. So back to the 1970s. I'm going to go back in time here. So this is a mysterious story told by a former owner.
The 1970s?
Yes.
Okay.
So during the 70s and beyond. So it's a continual story. That's why I'm
Okay.
going back. Yeah. The building was owned by Barton Johnson. Each year at Christmas, the General Wayne Inn hosted a large Christmas gala. One year at the end of the night, as the guests thanked him for his lovely party, several commented that they'd enjoyed his little historical touch. Johnson was puzzled because he did not know what they were referring to. The guests explained that they had been much impressed with the young man he had hired to pass among the guests dressed in colonial attire. The man seemed authentic in every respect, and they had enjoyed the show. Johnson, however, had not hired such a man, and he had not seen such a fellow at the party either. And so they mentioned this over and over again, hence why we're going back and then forward. Yeah. I think he just wanted to enjoy the party. Like, look, the war's over, guys. We won.
Sounds a lot like the Winchester House with Clyde.
Clyde, get back to work.
I really like that actor he had there.
He was really into it. In one room, a scuffle seems to occur periodically, kind of like our bedroom situation.
Okay.
Okay. So according to Johnson, he said that one afternoon he and his staff member were like working. They're on the first floor, and which is below the British barracks dining room area. And so they hear like this like sound upstairs. It's someone like throwing furniture. They hurry upstairs because no one should have been up there. And what do they find? They find tables that were upended. Chairs were strewn around as if someone had knocked them over in a struggle. But no one could be found on that floor. And it happens periodically. So imagine like you're up there, you have it all set, you go downstairs, and then you go back upstairs and it's destroyed.
Yeah.
I'd be so angry.
Yeah, I never know what's more disconcerting. When you hear the sounds and you go up and you see everything wrecked, or when you hear the sounds, you go up and everything's perfectly, like, fine. And it's like,
Oh, yeah.
okay, what just made that sound? Because that happened to us a couple times, you know?
I would prefer the latter because there's no cleanup.
No cleanup, yeah.
No no breaking things. I don't want another basket full of angels and broken knickknacks.
Yeah.
But it is scary. Well, here's a fun story, too. This is a story from a former patron of the restaurant. To quote the text, the guest testified that he had been in the coat check room reaching for his jacket when a black entity grabbed his hand. A terrible fear gripped the man as the spirit twisted him around and tried to force him to the ground. He felt as if the entity would murder him if he could get him down. The attack stopped abruptly, but the man never forgot his wrestling match with the ghost. It's the only report of anyone being touched or harmed by a spirit in the General Wayne Inn. The story would be easily dismissed if it weren't for the fact that the tale came from a very well-respected citizen. Can you imagine? Just get Michael. Wah!
It's very Amityville.
Yeah.
That similar thing happened in there.
But the only scary one, which is nice. But
yeah,
shadow figure, just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. But lots of pranks. So here come the pranks. This is when I would be like, I'm done. Knock it off. Okay? So it says, at least one of the spirits in the building seems to enjoy pranks and making messes. So imagine you're this waiter. You have just set up an entire room for a wedding. You have folded and tented every single napkin. Okay.
Oh no, I see where this is. This is like Skinwalker Ranch story right here, isn't it?
It is looking so fancy. Grand effect. Like you walk in, it looks like one of those high-class weddings. When he returns the next morning to finish his preparations, the napkins were tossed about the room and he had to start all over again. Yeah. But like Skinwalker Ranch, at least like they put the pile back where it was.
Yeah, back in the cupboards.
This is just like tossed. And it's like not gonna wash them because they're on the floor,
Oh, come on, he didn't do that.
You're probably right. The kitchen staff also have reported similar incidents. There was a cook who was the last to leave. The cook left a stack of about 20 towels on a cabinet. Next morning when he came in to open up for the day, he found the towels tossed all over the kitchen. Again.
Oh
my gosh. And then you wonder, like, why?
Yeah.
Are they being pranksters, or is it like like the ghost is looking for things to, like for a tourniquet or something? It's more like that like residual haunt with looking for a towel. But anyway, the bar seems to be the most haunted area, though. Who would have thought? Because they went there as a tavern and an inn. So one night, the bartender was hurrying down the stairs to the basement to restock the liquor when he stopped short. Before him, who do you think he saw? In the basement.
The Hessian.
The Hessian soldier. Yep. Of course, the basement figure decides to fade away then. The bartender refused to ever go into the basement again. He'd give a liquor list to someone else to bring it up for him. And then for months on end, between the time of 3 and 4 p.m. each afternoon, the glasses hanging from the racks of the bar would tinkle and jingle as if someone was shaking them. The phenomenon stopped after a few months, but then started up again. And there's no explanation. There wasn't like a train going by. Nope, would just tinkle like someone was wiggling them on purpose. Yeah.
And for those who haven't listened to our Liminal Unlimited crossover episodes, because, they're not on our feed at all, what we were referring to as Skinwalker Ranch is the Sherman family. The mother, I forget her name, Kathy?
Her name was different in the text.
Yeah, it was either Kathy or Katie. But anyways, she would unload all the groceries into all the proper places and everything. And then as she would like leave the kitchen, she'd hear like rustling, turn around, everything would be back on the kitchen counter.
So angry.
And she'd have to put it all away again. Yeah. And that's when she learned why there were locks on every single cabinet door.
And the story about like their son and his friends were supposed to move pipes. They moved them all. Gosh. And Dad came back and they were back where they were. He's like, but we did it. Like, we did it what you told us. Yeah.
Or the 80-pound hole digger was found in a tree.
Yeah, that is an episode. You got like it's a
two-parter.
Yeah, it was two-parter.
Yeah, it was two-parter.
Y'all gotta go back, go on Liminal Unlimited, and it's Skinwalker Ranch. You gotta scroll through. They haven't posted any new content in a while, but you gotta listen to that one. Like that, just
yeah, those 2 episodes are really.
That's
good.
like when you're just done. Like at some way, it's kind of like I don't even care. Like I don't even care anymore.
Yep.
Well, there's more to this story.
Of course.
Yeah. So back to the bar.
I'm ready.
So this is back when Johnson still owned the place. He loved his janitor because his janitor did a great job. But one morning he comes in and he hasn't done his work. So he contacts the janitor and the janitor informed him that he quit. He's like, okay, why? It seems that the night before, when the janitor was working, a colonial soldier had appeared before him at the bar. Hence the man simply put down his broom and walked out. And he's like, nope, that's it. I'm out. So can you imagine? So more to the bar, though. So here's something that's just creepy. I don't like this at all. So Johnson comes in to open the bar up. It's about that time. When he comes in, he finds the cash register is full of water. And it's electric, so it's destroyed.
Yeah.
Okay, but not only that. He looked up and saw nearly 30 carafes also filled with water. The water glasses on the shelves were also filled with water.
Oh my gosh.
And so was the wine rack that stood nearby. It looked as if someone had taken great pleasure in filling every available vessel they could find with water. It's crazy because there's no pipes above the bar, no logical explanation. The mystery is compounded when Johnson tried to get an insurance company to come and adjust and pay for the register because it's an expensive register and it's destroyed by water.
Yeah.
So when the person comes in, they're kind of like, we can't figure out how to not pay you back, but we also don't want it. There's no rational explanation. So they finally decided to split the fix half price, half and half.
Okay.
Because they couldn't prove or disprove anything.
Yeah.
But Johnson later realized that the event...
That would never happen nowadays, by the way. They'd
no.
be like, no, you're paying for it all.
Sucks for you.
We're not even going to send someone.
That's ridiculous, yeah. But Johnson later realized that that event happened the morning after voting day. So, but voting day always has things happen because it was used for all those years for a voting polling place.
Yeah.
And he said a lot of other events that were odd happened around that date too. So he's like, I'm not going to say that's a voting date thing, but he's like, a lot of activity kind of spurns because I mentioned to you 1848, we have a polling station there.
Yeah.
So perhaps one of the stranger phenomena at the bar is the neck blower, though.
Oh my.
Oh, yes. Yes.
My heart's just all aflutter right now.
No, you're not a female, so sorry. So Johnson, of course, was the bartender because he owned the place. But he started to notice a really weird occurrence where he'd see a woman sitting at the bar and she would kind of turn and react like something touched her or blew on her neck. And she'd go to yell at a guy behind her, but there was no one there. And then she'd complain about it. And then the next lady would turn and be surprised a little bit later. No one's there. And so he'd watch as it would go down each lady down the bar. So each lady would be turning around angrily. There'd be no man there. And finally, Johnson just realized that it would happen on busy nights. And it was a ghost who must be enjoying teasing the ladies. Because there's no dudes there doing it. Yeah. And so after that, Johnson was told of a story that might explain this flirting spirit. So during the colonial period, a man often frequented the tavern, and he was a drunk. And he liked to go there and annoy the ladies who worked there while he drank. One day, he got terribly obnoxious with one of the young women, and a chivalrous man came to her rescue. The drunk insulted the young lady again, and a fight began, during which the drunkard was struck and killed. Yeah. There, in the bar.
Yeah.
And so people just assume that he's still flirting and harassing ladies. So again, still the bar.
Wow.
Want to hear another bar story? That's actually kind of creepy.
Okay.
Okay. In the early 1980s, a local television studio comes in to do a story about the ghost in the General Inn. And at that point, they go to show it on the TV screen. So the owner and a whole bunch of his patrons, about 50 of them, all gather at the bar to watch the broadcast on their TV. As the segment starts on the TV, the picture on the television began to slowly rotate clockwise until it turned completely around. Again and again, the picture slowly turned while the segment was on. The television never acted that way before or after the event. The owner later checked with the television station in France to see, if they played it as a circle. And everyone's like, no, it was normal. It was just the television at the bar that did it. Yeah,
That's weird.
Yeah. How do you manipulate the screen? That... Because this had to be the old knob and tubes.
Yeah,
80s
CRT TVs, which means that you can't. There was no menu or button that could rotate the screen.
And
That's
50
impossible.
people and the owner watched it happen.
Yeah.
So, inexplicable, I like to say. But
That's
my
cool.
favorite story about this inn
Involves a small goat-like creature With
No.
leathery
Actually,
wings.
I'm going to hold that one on for last, actually.
Oh.
So,
The one
well,
about the
no,
goat-like
I
creature?
gotta tell this one first because the rest of this is like modern day, the guy who bought it to try and fix it up. All right. Who do you think has been spotted at this inn? It's Philadelphia, and it's my favorite.
Poe?
Yep.
All right.
Because he's the last standing Poe house is in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
So none other than Edgar Allan Poe has been seen visiting because he actually was in the General Wayne Inn in 1839.
Okay.
Yep. He made many trips there because he had a dear friend and biographer, Henry Beck Hurst, who lived out there.
He also had a raven friend.
Charles Dickens. It's Christmas time. Christmas time is here. Anyway.
He said he had a dear friend.
So we know that Poe is an alcoholic, so what a great place for him to go. Just saying.
Well,
So it is said that he had a favorite seat.
a little stereotypical of him, I'd say.
It is said that Poe had a favorite seat near the window. And once Ben Franklin actually even sat at that place because it's where he delivered the mail. Fun fact. So supposedly Poe edited or wrote part of The Raven at that table. And he also carved his initials into the glass window with a diamond ring that he borrowed for the purpose from Hearst. It's kind of cool. The window was actually there till the 1970s, which is pretty cool. But then it got broke because someone was being stupid and broke it. Yeah. It wasn't on purpose. They were chiseling something outside and the jackhammer was chiseling and it broke the window. So anyway, according to our reports here, Poe has been glimpsed sitting in his favorite table seat. Curiously, he has also been seen in the building dressed not only in his customary suit, but also in his cadet's uniform, because as many people may know, he was actually in the cadets for a while. It says that he seems to be tired, haggard, and worn. Other folks claimed they actually saw Poe standing near a painting of him in the room, and he's like laughing at the picture and making fun of it, which totally fits him because everyone like sees him as this like dark and macabre guy because his stories are so dark. But he was like you and me, like he was a practical jokester his entire life. So I could see him being like, "That's what really that one." That's what you guys have hanging here? Like, man, oh man, like this is upsetting. Like, I look like a doofus. I could totally see him saying that. So we need to go to the General Wayne Inn. Actually, it doesn't exist anymore, but we should go there and see Poe. Moving on. So Joseph Yoganski eventually bought this place, and he wanted to restore it to its, former glories, if you will. So he decided he's going to turn it and change the light bulbs in one of the chandeliers. And while he was doing that, it says after he had screwed in several bulbs and moved on to the next, something nearby caught his attention. He looked at the bulbs he had just screwed in, and they were slowly unscrewing themselves one by one.
Oh.
Again, the prankster. I just did that.
Just put them in.
And those bulbs are expensive. Could you not? Put it down. Anyway, now Yoganski had heard about the soldier in the basement, but he was not prepared to see the sight of the soldier walking through the basement, visible only from his knees up. He also learned that some of the former staff had seen this apparition, so they said it seems to be walking on the original floor of the basement. And that's why you don't really see yet, because the basement had been raised about 18 inches over time. So
I was literally just thinking, like, because you said it's not there anymore, so I was like, well, is just Poe sitting in the middle of the field now? Pretending to be at a table?
Could he be? That's delicious. Where'd everybody go? At first, it seemed like something happened that'd be great for the inn because there were these two great guys who were known to be an amazing, successful pair of chefs. So in 1996, I hope it's Guy, but it could be Guy Celio and Jim Webb buy the inn. Now, this seems like it's going to be a great, wonderful start, but it quickly became a nightmare that might have spawned yet another ghost.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. The two were praised as amazing chefs. They had creative and innovative new designs for food and American cuisine, which, America. So they had successfully run a small restaurant. They received amazing reviews. So they figured might as well buy a larger establishment, open up a bigger place, right?
Okay.
The inn had become shabby with time and lack of care, of course, but they thought they could restore it with some help and get that nice reputation again of it being good for food, drink, fun, ghosts. You can't discount the idea of ghosts to sell you some spots.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, fixing up an old inn, as we know with our old house, is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it's cost a lot of money. So they realized that they were just sinking really, really badly. Their response to the failure ultimately led to tragedy. So to quote the text, Chef Webb wanted them to roll up their sleeves and redouble their efforts, salvaging what they could. Chef Salio decided it was time to bail out. The two became increasingly hostile toward each other, which led to physical fights and terrible verbal rows. Webb began sleeping in his office on the 3rd floor because he was working so many hours that he barely got any sleep, while Salio was putting in far fewer hours. So again, Webb wants to, get their hands dirty, get her done. Salio's like, nah. On the morning of December 27th.
Okay.
And I want to point out that is also the same day as the massacre. I just realized this now. That's Susquehannock. Yeah, in Lancaster. It was 2 days after Christmas. It just stuck in my head. And that's not too far away. Just saying.
Yeah. Interesting.
Anyway, I think it's just coincidence, but
Yeah.
On December 27th, 1996, in the morning, Salio called the police. He had found his partner on the floor of his 3rd floor office, dead. Webb had been shot in the back of the head.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Suspicious?
Yeah.
I'm not suspicious, but I'm a little stitious. Anyway, while questioning the employees, the police learned that Salio had been having an affair with a young sous chef named Felicia Moyes. Moyes indicated that Webb was becoming increasingly upset about the affair and had been causing trouble between the couple. Soon, the police learned of a large insurance policy that the 2 chefs had taken out on each other. Salio stood to inherit $650,000. Webb had also borrowed $100,000 from Salio's father. So, yeah. Felicia Moyes committed suicide soon after, and that only spurred on speculation that she might have known or even helped with Webb's murder. It was obvious that this was a very troubled young woman, to quote the text.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, the police arrest Salio for perjury. He later was indicted for Webb's murder. So, yes, a murder happened there. Many murders happened there, but that was the most recent. So, what has happened? Now, according to this text, now again, to go to the front of this was written in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The General Wayne Inn was sold to a real estate developer. There are already stories that the chef has returned to his kitchen, but these are only rumors so far. The building has since been sold once again and is now slated to become a Jewish synagogue and restaurant. Will there be stories about the spirits in the future? The ghosts have been part of the building for a long time, and they likely will continue to be. It should only be a matter of time before new chapters are added to the long saga of the ghosts of the General Wayne Inn. So unfortunately, the General Wayne Inn no longer exists, PJ.
Okay.
It is a Jewish synagogue that's there now. Maybe the ghosts are still there. Maybe they're happy to have a holy location.
Mm-hmm.
We'll never know, though. I wonder if Poe is enjoying being in a synagogue. Or like what parts of the building actually still exist,
Yeah.
Finding that fascinating. So what are your thoughts about the General Wayne Inn?
Certainly sounds haunted, judging by all the stories and everything.
If only we could have bought it and fixed it up.
Oh, yeah. We totally have the time and money for that.
You don't know we could have. Not now.
So, what happens to the ghost now? Is there just, a random Hessian walking around the forest?
I don't know.
I just picture being in the forest. I don't know what it looks like.
There's an inn there. It's just now a synagogue they've, built around and added and all that kind of stuff. I just want to know if Poe still has his window to look out of, or is he sad? Did they keep up a picture of Poe for him to look at? They're in a synagogue now, so probably not. Poe wasn't Jewish.
Okay, so there's a synagogue there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
they probably would have Jews don't use holy water, but they would have said lots of prayers.
They would have blessed it,
so
yeah.
Maybe they have gone on to a happier place?
Yeah.
Maybe one of General Wayne's toes is on the ground somewhere there, and that's why it's so haunted. Maybe. I have this idea.
Huh.
But
that's my big question about residual haunts, though, is what happens?
Me too.
When you change the location on the residual
when you
change the geography, knock it down, Like the story of the Hessian missing his legs because they raised the basement a little bit. So, like, what happens if it's just not there at all?
He's underground walking. And
they fill in the
they fill
basement.
the basement.
He's just in the ground.
La, la, la. He doesn't know. It's a residual. It's just energy.
Yeah, I guess.
Alas, we'll never know because it is a Jewish synagogue. Oh, we'll send Jack. Jack, if you're listening, we need you to do us a solid. We know you're Jewish, but you need to go into the synagogue and you gotta find the ghosts.
Yeah.
Imagine if they're like putting out like prayer service stuff. Yeah, I'm not sure what someone in a synagogue does, but
And it gets thrown all over the place.
Yeah, actually, we put these nice pamphlets. We have these pamphlets out for Advent right now in our church, and you just come in the next day and they're like all over the floor. Or you have the Jesse tree out and they've taken off every single ornament and tossed them all over the altar. Man, I wonder if they would do that.
Yeah.
I would not be happy. But now it's hallowed ground now.
Exactly. So the residual stuff I would assume is still there because that's just energy.
I guess.
But all the intelligent stuff, the stuff that like interacts with, throwing things around and all that.
PJ. Oh,
yeah. That guy's gone.
The
neck blower.
The guy looking for his locket too, maybe.
Yeah.
The black entity in the closet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good. The black thing should be gone.
Yeah, but the Hessian would still be there.
Yeah. Maybe the head on the... Nobody wants to find a Hessian's heads on a cupboard or like on the altar. No. Oh, well, alas. But I hope you enjoyed this story. I'm glad we finally got to put in General Wayne.
Yeah.
Maybe one day we'll discuss the Paley Massacre. We have lots of small skirmishes. We could just hit up lots of small massacres and skirmishes in the area.
Yeah.
But alas, it's for another day.
Email us, message us, tell us what you want to hear more of.
Well, they could do a poll because Tim wants to come back on.
Yes.
And I told him I'd love to discuss Mischler's Theater or Penn's Cave. I'm leaning towards Mischler's Theater because it fits the General Wayne kind of discussion.
Okay.
So if our listeners have any interest, Penn's Cave is a beautiful cave.
It's amazing.
And there's lots of ghostly stories that go with it. Mischler's Theater, it's just kind of cool. So either one is fun. I'm going to hit up both of these stories eventually, but what do you want to hear first? Yeah. I'm sure we'll only hear from Penny and Jackie and maybe Fullest and Rejects about this, but if anyone else is listening, please tell us what you think. One's in Altoona.
We know they're listening.
Also, Tim should have an input. Tim, what do you want to do this week? And respond about coming to my house. So anyway, have a lovely week, everyone. And as always, think spooky thoughts.